Hi everyone, I'm Apero. I'm a member of Team Aretusa. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk really quickly about something we saw come out from CDPR this week about changes to AutoMill. This is particularly important for beginners and anyone trying to build their collection. So let's have a look at what the announcement was and how we are going to benefit from it. Very exciting. Let's go. Before we begin, I want to explain what AutoMill is for those who might be new to the game and maybe even don't know that this happens. So when you enter the game, what the game does is it evaluates your collection and it assesses whether you have duplicates of a card at a certain limit. And when you do, it will automatically break down that card into resources so you can spend it on other cards in your collection. Now this is useful because sometimes if you buy a lot of kegs, then you could have a situation where you have, let's say, 10 copies of a bronze card. There is no way you need 10 copies of a bronze card. You can only have 2 copies in your deck, and even if you want to save 2 of them to have 2 premium versions later on, you still only need a maximum of 4 in your collection. So it's really annoying if you would have to go through one by one and mill every single spare card that you don't want in your collection. It would become very time consuming. Maybe not so much early on when you've got a limited collection, but as time goes on, you would find you'd be spending a lot of time doing this and it's not worth your time. Now, right now, you don't have any choice as to the AutoMill settings. The game client already does it automatically and there are no settings available for it. That is what has changed. CDPR has introduced the ability to choose which mill setting you want, but right now there is only one, and that is what is listed here as premium focused. It says keep extra copies of cards above deck limit in order to transmute them into premium versions. So if you have a bronze card, for example, let's say you don't have any premiums at all, the game will save 4 non-premium versions of that card because it assumes you want a full collection in the future. That is 2 premium versions and 2 non-premium versions. Just think about that for a second. You're never going to play 4 versions of this card in your deck. You can only ever play 2 bronzes in your deck. It is very rare that a player actually wants 4 copies of the same card, especially if they're trying to build their collection early on. So this is why this has been very highly criticized, and part of the reason why these changes have been brought in. Luckily they have, because let's look at the other 2 options, which are far more preferable. The second option is listed as standard, and it's also listed as recommended. I'll explain at the end why it's not going to be my recommended setting, but let's look at what that is. It says this setting enables you to mill all copies which exceed deck limit. Premium as well as standard versions will be milled separately. So there we can see that what they've actually done is decided, well, you only ever need 2 copies of a bronze and 2 of a premium. So we're going to check if you have 2 premium copies, we're going to check if you have 2 bronze copies, and anything above that we're going to mill. Again, you're never going to play 3 copies of this card, right? So you have 3 copies of this card where you don't necessarily need it. So it's still, in my opinion, not ideal. However, it is an improvement and I'm glad that it's their recommended setting to begin with. However, I would recommend switching to the third setting, which is resource focused. Let's talk about that last and then I'll tell you why. So resource focused kind of already gives you a hint as to why I'm going to recommend this to you. This is the most efficient way to build your collection, especially if you're early in your GWENT career and you're struggling to get scraps or powder. These are things that maybe they come a little bit more easily further down the line, but right now they could be really hard for you to collect. So what I want to tell you is why this will help you. Let's have a look. It says this setting enables you to mill all extra copies above deck limit with a preference to keep premium versions of cards. And what we can see there in this example is that it will basically only ever keep 2 copies of a card, right? For bronzes, for example, we've got 1 premium and 1 bronze. We don't need the other 3 bronzes, so it mills them and it will always prioritize premiums. Now, the downside to this is if you have two premiums in your collection, for example, it will mill all of your non-premium versions. Maybe you don't want that. There are some strategic reasons why you might want to hold on to non-premium versions. But even if that's the case, if you're early on in your time in Gwent and you're trying to build your collection, that is still a better option for you. You can come back to getting the non-premium versions further down the line when you really decide that collection is more important to you than just building good decks. But for the majority of people, building a good deck is their number one priority. And if that is your number one priority, I can highly recommend that Resource Focused be the one that you choose. So that's it. That's everything we know so far about the changes to AutoMill and my recommendations for how you use them to your advantage. Now, unfortunately, we don't know yet when these changes are going to come in, but I'm sure eventually this video will be outdated and they will already be out. And if that is the case, please choose Resource Focused if you're trying to build your collection. If you're trying to expand your collection for the sake of building decks, if you are building your collection for the sake of collection purposes, then maybe the other two options are better choices for you. However, it is up to you. That's all I have today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do stick them down in the comments. I'm very friendly, and also hit that subscribe button, of course. Follow me on Twitter. I'm very open to newbies. If you have any questions you feel are too silly to ask other people, please always feel free to contact me. So with that said, have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, whatever it is, and I will see you next time. Bye.